To the Tuesday, June 13th meeting of the Newmarket Planning Board. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so do we have any members of the public? And that does not appear that we do.
Mr. Chair, just Mikhail will be stepping in.
Oh yes, we'll appoint Mikhail to be a voting member tonight. We still have no members of the public, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public comments for tonight. Okay. And next item is review and approval of the minutes from May 9th. Did everyone get any edits or notes on the minutes from last meeting? Sal's not here, so we don't have their frequent contributions from Val. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 9th of 2023.
Second? Second. Okay. Go ahead and take a vote on that.
Comment.
Any further discussion? Okay. We'll call the roll. No? Just go. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So on our regular business, we are doing a notice given that the planning board shall set forth the whole discussion of proposed language to amend, and I believe this is, I'm credited as ordinance, right?
Yes, it's a discussion on the ordinance.
Ordinance 32-161, Downtown Overlay District, and
That's 3.21.
3.21, Architectural and Aesthetic Review of Municipal Town Code of Newmarket, New Hampshire, that seeks to add architectural design requirements with the Historic Overlay District or take any other action relative thereto.
Just a couple edits there. It's got actually the Downtown Overlay District, and there's a couple more sections in there too. But this is for discussion purposes, so I can go through all the edits that I made to it based on the May 9th discussion. So everyone turns to page, I guess 1 of your packet, or 2. So let me just do a little background. At the last meeting, the board collectively decided that instead of focus on the historical overlay district, it was more prudent to focus on the downtown overlay district, which is certain properties along 108 within the M2 district. What you think of downtown right now, and also a little portion of Main Street as you hit the blinking light and you go towards Town Hall.
So quick question.
Yes.
Just so everyone's kind of clear. So are we talking about, say where Johnny Boston is, from there?
A little further, closer to Town Hall.
Okay.
Yep. So where the red where the fire engine store, the red.
Yep. Okay. The red fire station.
Yep.
Okay. From there.
Up 108.
Yep.
And right after the I forget the name of the restaurant. Is it
The Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, the Mexican restaurant. Yeah.
Okay.
Right there, La Catrina. Yeah.
Okay.
To that building.
Okay. Just so everyone kind of has a good idea of where
Right.
we're talking.
Excluding the mill buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So
What about on the other side of South Main Street? How far up would it go?
it goes up to town. Let's see here.
So it actually looks like it goes all the way up
The
to
existing.
What is the name of the street the green buildings are on?
So the green building, that's Exeter Road. So that's where
That's
a
Exeter,
discussion we can have on propose. Does the board feel comfortable how it currently exists, the downtown overlay district? Is there room for expansion? So where I saw was an opportunity potentially, to have that discussion on, because that part of the road is really nice.
I think it was mentioned at last meeting too.
Yeah.
Coming out of the old New Road.
Right, to the railroad tracks. So I just highlighted in green on the map so you have in front of you, what that would look like. Blue is, what it currently is, listed as the downtown overlay district. So when you hit the blinking light, turn left, and it goes all the way actually to town hall.
Or is it that's the railroad track?
Or, no, railroad tracks, yeah, so that's the green. Sorry, I should just.
No, the other way.
No.
South Main goes to
The
the
one
railroad track.
near the high school or on,
Right.
on Main Street.
Right,
Go out
yeah,
of town
yeah,
hall,
right.
right.
So it's wherever the
Yeah,
M2
so
district.
South Main Street ends at, this blue is,
So it's the
but
blue.
this white stripe
Yeah.
is the railroad track.
Right, so that blue area
It's
is,
across the street.
that blue area is the M2 district where it ends. Yeah. So, and so the way the ordinance is written is, wherever in the M2 district on 108 and South Main.
And where the green goes towards the gray.
Yep.
And that white line, that's the railroad tracks?
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
shows
This is
what-
railroad tracks, this is the road.
yeah, that's what I thought. it was.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
good, thank you.
If you want past this.
Thank you.
I have a, oh,
Mine,
yes, I do, right here.
because mine is just the blue.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, the one I printed out is only black and white, so.
So anyways, that discussion at the last meeting, it was talked about potentially expanding the overlay district, and coming up with standards that, you know, are reasonable, that don't overburden current property owners, but at the same time protect that character that we're trying to achieve to preserve. So that's what I tried to do with these new edits, and I think, you know, to go through this, I'll just go through it, and then we can have a discussion. We'll go line by line afterwards.
I'm sorry, even though I live here, where is the library?
The library is right here.
Okay. So
So
this is Beach Street Extension or
Nope,
whatever that's called?
this right here, if you're looking, Scott, this is Elm Street.
Elm, okay.
Beach Street Extension would be
It just
right
finished.
here. Right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll label the streets next time.
Okay, so this is the library. So why is the library not included?
Because that's in the M2A district.
Oh, right, okay.
And the house across the street from the library on Elm Street, the owner did a very good job in preserving the brick building.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to add that to our conversation, that they've done a great job there. And if that's not part of it, is that something we want to consider as part of it? Because he's done such a great job in preserving that.
I'm sorry, which building?
So if you, unless I misunderstood what you said, the library's right there,
Yeah,
Correct.
and that's Elm Street.
right.
Across the street from the library.
Oh, the old mansion, what they call the mansion house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know what the name of it was. Is how you say it, Scott?
Well, it's the mill, it's the
It
former
was the-
mill manager's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was where the mill manager who actually built the library lived.
Okay. Because the present owner did a very good job with the fence and
Yeah, and that's
preserving
kind of
the look.
That's a historic, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
foundational building.
So does that matter to us,
I think,
or should it matter?
Well, as you know, we had quite a discussion last couple of meetings of trying to limit this and make it smaller and smaller and smaller.
I agree, but I'm just bringing it up because
Yeah,
of the work that was done to it. And does that mean that a future owner could let all that go away?
well,
And does
that's
that-
true of everything right now. so-
100%, 100%.
I think
Yeah.
technically it's on 108. I think it doesn't, but so they might have to adhere to architectural standards.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's all, I just want to make sure, because,
Yeah.
as I said, I believe the present owner did a great job in doing that.
Yeah, and again, you know, how to say this? What we're going to do after this exercise is also, you know, look at the M2A district as we rezone,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, extend downtown even further towards Durham. So that's going to be part of that conversation.
Did we talk about
Yeah,
that? Yeah,
yep.
understood.
So that specific building is, it's within the historic district,
Right.
and is it in that list of protected buildings? I thought there was a
I
list of
imagine it
some-
would be, yeah.
So they already, they have some level of protection,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me, but if it's,
Could we check on that, if you don't mind?
sure.
If it is
Thank
on
you.
that list.
Yeah, if it's on it.
It wouldn't make sense to extend this to
No.
it, right?
I don't know, I don't,
Already
I think I truly understand what the protection of that list is.
I think it's on it's on the National Register, so I'm
Right.
not sure, will they have a opportunity, the register itself, to comment? I'm not sure, it's
Do you
already,
have to notify the register when they make a change? Or no?
I'm not too sure, so.
So it may make sense.
I mean, I think that brings us right back to where we were at the last meeting, which is there are tons of houses just in this little section in this map here. Like if you were to go down Elm Street, many of those buildings are historic. And some of them have been really well cared for. There historically were mill worker residences.
Right.
They're all on a lot of these buildings all over this map are on our list of historic buildings that have significance in Newmarket for a variety of reasons, whether it was their history of the mills or just how old they are.
Yeah.
The oldest house in Newmarket, I believe, or in this area, I don't think is on this, but I might be wrong. I think it is on the other side of the railroad bridge, on the Packers Falls side. As you go up that way, that's one of the oldest houses in Newmarket. But I thought it seemed like last time the
Yeah, I think we
discussion was
wanna
turned more
Do we want to
towards.
get this passed?
Yeah, it was turning towards more
Let's
limiting.
get this done and then try to expand on it.
Okay. No, but I just wanted to bring that up, if people are concerned about historical buildings, there's lots of them, that's all I'm saying, all over the place.
Well, I think the adding Exeter Street there is certainly an interesting addition to it. And I think a lot of people think Exeter Street is actually Main Street.
Right.
And then I'm always confused at Johnny Boston and I'm staying on Main, do I use a blinker?
Yeah, I know.
Better safe than sorry.
Well, that's what my wife says, but I just,
Yeah.
if I'm on Main, I'm continuing on Main,
Yeah.
why should I need a blinker?
Yeah.
Changing numbered routes. Going from 108 to 152.
That's true.
Yeah, but most people are just going down Exeter, right? Most people just, go straight, right? And so, the traffic people are somewhat confused by it.
All right, so turning back to, you wanted to review.
Yeah, if the board's good with that, just go run through it and then we'll have discussion.
Yep.
Okay, great. So on line 12, what this does is direct an applicant saying what a qualifying development would be within the downtown overlay district, and it references site plan review. So that brings the authority to the planning board. And then also it further says if there's no planning board action needed, any type of development would have to adhere to the architectural standards within site plan review. So that gives the authority to the building inspector to enforce those projects which don't qualify for site plan review. To the applicant that you have to follow these standards that are within there. So that goes back to 3.21.
Does downtown commercial overlay district, is that a thing? Is that something you can go look up?
Yes, that's the thing right now.
Okay,
Yep, so that's section 32-160.
okay.
So that's in the zoning ordinance already. So we're just adding a new section called standards. And I'll read to the public actually, since people are listening. So it says qualifying development activities on lots located within the downtown commercial overlay district shall require site plan review pursuant to Appendix B site plans of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire. Notwithstanding, development activities exempt from site plan review shall adhere to the architectural design standards pursuant to section 3.21 architectural and aesthetic review of Appendix B site plans of the municipal code of the town of Newmarket, New Hampshire. So again, those projects that don't qualify or don't need to come to the planning board still have to follow those standards. So it kind of achieves what I think that gap was before. And so that's the only zoning change. So this will require both planning board and town council, planning board recommendations, and then town council approval. Now we're moving on to site plans, which is in the purview of the planning board. So added in section on line 27, 1.03 definitions, added a new term called renovation. And renovation is defined as an alteration or restoration, modifying the exterior portions of an existing structure. So the purpose of this is to, when this comes up in later language, that this is the definition that's going to be used when we mean renovation. Moving on to section 39, put like a little star right here. I kind of want to have a discussion on that. So this is where applications don't need to go in front of a planning board for review. So in line number 4, it says, within the M2 district, change of use from one non-residential use to another non-residential use, which involves no more than 500 square feet of gross floor area. So instead of 500, I would like to have discussion of modifying that. Right now I have 1,000 as a placeholder, but as I'll elaborate a little later, want to go through that with you all, to see if that can be actually increased. Moving on to line 40. So this is under not applicable. So this is, it doesn't have to go to planning board for review. It says a renovation under 50% of the total area of the primary structure's exterior facade for lots located within the downtown commercial overlay district. So this basically goes back to, the discussion on replace a window. Do they have to come from the planning board, for review? Kind of, removing that burdens, for maintenance, small maintenance activities. So, applicants don't have to come to the planning board for that. It can just be done through the building inspector. And the building inspector now would have the authority to enforce the design standards. So we kind of having him as that person who is kind of regulating what that was going to look like in a way, or following what the ordinance said, or the design standards are.
So, can I ask a question about this?
Sure.
So if somebody comes in for a building permit to replace a 2 or 3 windows or something,
Yep.
you need a permit to replace them?
Yes.
So you're replacing 3 windows, and code enforcement officer says, that's only 10% of your building space. You don't need to go to the planning board. I'm gonna go to 3.21 and make sure your windows meet architectural
Yep.
standards for the area.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you were looking at 50% of the cost or something there, but then decided that wasn't a good way to do it.
Right. That was, and kind of circling back to that, we had that, we kind of were really going into nitty gritty where it's like, well, if your building's not on the register list, you're exempt. So it kind of was putting an undue burden on those, not to say it was a burden, but more
Yeah.
restrictions on those houses that are on the list that are not within the historic overlay district. So that was going to kind of, and then you have to track everything as well. So we figured this is the easier way to regulate that.
Right.
So that would, so, I don't want to belabor this point too much because it's pretty straightforward, but, so, that's only the front of the building?
That's so my intent with this was the whole building. Definitely have a discussion.
But it
because
says
there's
exterior facade, what does that mean?
So that means the entire.
Oh, it does, okay.
Okay, I
Envelope.
took that as to mean just the
Front,
front.
that's what I
So
thought
we can
too.
remove facade and say the exterior portion of the building if that's more clear.
Yeah,
Does that
facade
include-
tends to mean the front.
Okay.
And
Okay.
only- and
I would
only the
agree with that.
walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does the 50% include the roof?
No, so roofs would be exempt. But they still have to follow those standards.
Do you have to exclude the roof or something like that? Or
I think I did add that further
I
further
think
down.
It says renovation greater
Yeah.
than excluding roof work.
Right. So this is further down in B4. So we're about to get there.
Line 54.
Yeah.
Okay, that's under minor review. Is that different?
But
That's the same thing, it's excluded. So like you wouldn't have to go to review.
Right, no, I understand. But I didn't know why, I guess the question was why one is in one is not.
But the,
Why is one not under minor review and the other one is under minor review?
Well, so maybe the way to do that, just take excluding roof work, add it up to 5 on line 40, and then that's not applicable, then not applicable through the whole.
That's all I was thinking, unless it should be, oh, I see what you're saying. So it should be applicable under a major review, but not under a minor.
It shouldn't be applicable at all. So the
Okay,
idea is not
okay,
to, you know, if you're doing any roof work, you
Yeah.
don't have to come to planning board for
Right.
review. Building inspector would be the person who would oversee that work.
Yeah, so it probably should be above the, right?
Yeah, it can be, yeah.
I'm not sure. I didn't know if it was under minor review for a reason and not with the other.
I think, you know, not to be redundant and repeated everywhere, we can move it up to 5, like you suggested on line 40, and then it's not applicable. So we can reword it, yeah,
I
we'll
think that
reword
makes
it, yeah.
sense. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Okay, so let me just throw an arrow there. Throw it up.
I'm sorry,
Good,
I
no,
gotta
no.
ask one more question about that. So, because I don't want it to become an issue for the code enforcement officer, who's the burden of the 50% rule put on?
It'll be staff, it'll be code
The
enforcement.
applicant? Okay.
Yeah, applicant would demonstrate to the code enforcement officer, this is where I'm working, and this is the calculation. And then we, as staff, would have to calculate.
So, yeah,
Corroborate
that looks good.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
come on. So if you do, essentially if you do all your siding, that's probably more than 50%.
Probably, yeah.
Right. But if you do like 2 windows on one side of your house, you're probably good to go. If you
Right.
do one side every year.
Right, so there is
Right.
segmenting, we can talk about that and how the board feels about segmenting. But again, those standards
The architectural standards still apply.
apply, exactly.
They just don't need to come to the planning board.
Right.
Okay.
but I read facade as the front of the building. And the 50% I liked because it said you can't change the front of the building's look without, you know, meeting this, right? But if we make the entire building, then you can easily totally redo the front of the building and it's a lot less than 50%.
That's fine.
Right, so.
And I think the key here is the front of the building is really, I mean, certainly in this district, you know, I really don't care what the side, I mean, personally, aesthetically, I don't really care what the side of Panston, of the, like the Mexican restaurant on the, you know, on the inside wall, right?
Yeah. How do other people feel?
So I agree with that. I like the idea of the facade. My point was going to be, but what about the rest of the building? not we should make it easier, right? So, yes. Yeah, so
Or how about 50% of any side?
yeah, that's kind of what I was going to. I think that personally, if you're trying to capture the character of an area, you do see the sides of the houses.
Yep.
And I always think it's nice not to knock people like, you know, everyone concentrates in the front of their house usually, right? And less so on the side.
But there
If
aren't
you're
any
trying-
houses in this district, right?
It would be if it's expanded.
I was gonna
Actually,
say,
there are a couple of houses on South Main.
Isn't the whole
Okay.
green area, the whole green area on this map, I believe only has 2 commercial properties? in
Yeah,
it?
you're right, yeah.
A garage and something.
Oh,
Yeah.
3.
Well,
So
it
there's
has
three.
the Flora Aqua or whatever that's called.
That's in the blue one.
Yeah.
That's in the,
Yeah, so
is
it's-
it in the
it's
blue?
old-
Oh, yeah,
it does
okay,
in
yeah.
front, I mean, south.
Yeah, but then there's
Cinder
that
block
new
building.
There's that new
facility.
right at the bottom, right?
Or renovated, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's,
Yeah.
so I think there's
Horseshoe
3
Cafe,
commercial,
yeah.
3 commercials in the green. Horseshoe Cafe would be that big blue one on the
Yeah.
corner. That's what one of the questions I was gonna ask when we got to that. It seems like it's a commercial overlay district, but there's only 3 commercial buildings, and the rest are currently residential, but it could become commercial again.
Good, yeah.
But they would go to site plan if they were to
Change of use, yeah.
change use like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how could we make it so that the rest of the house can't like it, totally change the front?
Well, it's a question
I
on
guess
who,
it's about the
who,
architectural standard.
yeah, who does the board want to review that? You know, how much, is it like when, so the idea when I was putting together this language is, those small renovations the bill inspector can handle. and he has the guidelines to follow. But, when you're reaching that, real heavy renovations, extensive renovations, maybe a little more review is required,
Yeah.
from the board, just to make sure everything is in character with the intent, or in line with the intent of the overlay district and the design standards.
I would say that I can fully understand where I wasn't putting together the fact that the other three sides, if you leave it as you have it written, that the rest of the house still goes under the review of the, or structure still goes under the review of the code enforcement officer anyway, and this is really just to bring it to the planning board. So I think the 50% of the facade actually seems fine, doesn't it? I mean, or to me.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
So the
Then
board,
if you're fully changing the front, because if
Right.
you change 52%, you're probably going to change 100% of it,
most likely.
or at least all the sides and all the windows.
And do we have a clear definition of what the word facade is? Is everyone comfortable with that is?
As of right now, it's the dictionary definition. So we can create a new one if we wanted to.
What is the
Dictionary
dictionary?
definition. The front?
Facade.
Okay.
My idea of facade is the shell.
Me too.
Yeah.
I always took it as the.
Does somebody
That's
have
all,
a,
I grew up the same way, I always thought the facade was the front of it.
I don't know why,
Like a facade is a false front,
Right.
I thought.
Oh,
Well,
I
yeah.
got the dictionary.
Look up Merriam-Webster. That's
So,
the standard.
So, Oxford, this one says the
Well,
facade.
no Oxford, okay?
Oh.
Merriam-Webster here, okay?
Do you want the first
Yeah.
noun or the second noun, or the fifth noun? Which
Yeah.
one would you like? The first one, and just what comes up is the face of a building, especially the principal front that looks onto a street or open space.
yeah, that's my understanding of
That's what I thought
facade.
it was, yeah.
And Marion is saying the front of a building, also any face of a building given special architectural treatment.
Yeah.
And then the second definition of false, superficial, or artificial appearance or effect. So the classic facade is those fake western buildings that
Yeah,
little
right.
western towns always build.
Actually, we have
Or
a couple in
Las
South Main
Vegas.
Street.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, I guess the discussion should be, is it the front of the building or you consider the whole building? Because there are some areas of, some of the buildings you can see from the side, what I can think of as, I think it's 98 Main Street, the brick, the fabulous building there.
Yeah,
You can see the whole side of that building,
Mhm.
especially when you're driving north.
well, we still have architectural review when they want to change things, right?
Well, that's the question. If they're changing the side, if we have just the facade, it's only the front. But the code enforcement officer would be looking at the whole building. But you'd be, reviewing, because it still has to follow those standards. But again, when do you want to come to the planning board?
Well, the facade's the one that we're really interested in.
Okay. So,
I'd be comfortable with facade.
Just the
I
front.
feel like that will accomplish what we're setting out to do here.
And I think what you want to do is just make sure you have a definition of what a facade is, so everyone's clear.
well, are people, do you think there needs to be more, or we want to use the current definition?
You could remove the word facade and say the building.
Building front,
The
yeah.
side of
The
building
frontage.
facing on
Yeah,
the street.
street
or
facing side of the
street
building.
facing side.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Escape the semantics of the
That's
facade.
right, so let me ask
Kick
that.
those French
I
out.
really like this.
Remember when we had freedom fries?
I do. Okay, so now we're moving to minor review. This is the realm of planning board.
Mhm.
And the line 54, these are new add-ons, so, renovation greater than 50% of the total area of the primary structure, front-facing street side, excluding roof work, so we actually will remove that, and located within down. So again, that threshold is crossed, so it comes to plan board review. And then the other one,
Okay, just a second. So you have downtown commercial overlay district. Have we discussed whether we wanted to make it the downtown, the DCOD extension?
that's the acronym. So yeah, so we can come to that discussion later.
Okay,
So right now it's just for the blue area on your
okay,
map.
right.
You're talking about 5.5?
we're talking
A B5,
about,
I mean.
we're on B4 right now, now we're moving on to B5.
But before we were gonna strike and put the roof in.
Yeah, so the word excluding roof work is struck, it goes up to 5, which is A5.
Oh, but
The
you
top
leave the
here is-
rest?
yeah.
You leave the rest.
Yeah. So this authorizes the board to review this type of application when the front of the building is renovated over 50%. Then another minor review is if there's any waiver requests from the design standards, it will come to the board. So the benefit here, what we're doing here is, as you remember, in the zoning side, is that all the design standard, or the, let me go back to it. The zoning directs the applicant that you have to follow site plan review. So what I was trying to do here is, if you needed a waiver from an architectural design standard, you wouldn't have to get a variance. You would go to the planning board for a waiver request. So it's less burdensome for the applicant if there's any, because there are any requests for any waivers from those design standards. So I put that in here, and they'll have to go to the planning board for minor review. So everyone follow that? The intent? Okay. And then just renumbered on line 62, 64, just renumbered, and then major review on line 68 is a development or redevelopment of a lot located within downtown overlay district. So tear down a building,
Right.
become full review, total review. Or, in rebuild. And then on line 79, I struck out, or line 78, I struck out the language there. It says, this is the language being removed. It's also important to avoid economic hardship and impose unreasonable standards on existing building owners who wish to make modifications to their structures. And the replacement language is, the purpose of this section is to strike a balance between architectural designs complementing the town's urban core and fostering page.
Yeah, economic development.
Fostering economic development opportunities in a manner that does not overburden property owners. Accordingly, this regulation applies only to structures located along Route 108 and within the downtown commercial overlay district.
So, is it even needed in a manner that does not overburden property owners? Could you just say economic development opportunities, period?
Good.
I mean, what is everybody's thoughts on that?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, should have.
The same word, same
Yeah.
sentences, but just a
Yeah.
different sentence.
I don't know, is that needed? And the only reason I'm bringing that up is, what is a burden to me may not be a burden to you. So if you just said economic development opportunities, period. And then just have, this capital regulation applies only to the structures located on Route 108 and within the downtown commercial overlay district, period. I don't know if you need an explanation of what your thought process is.
I think it's like a mission statement, like it's just the idea that we're just trying to say, we understand that we're applying a burden, that this applies a burden.
So, but again, I come to you and say, well, it is a burden to me.
But
What's
then
your
I'd
thought?
say we achieved our goal.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, but I'm saying to you that because of what you're looking for, it is a burden to me,
Oh, okay.
right? So I don't have to follow it because it's a burden to me. And you're saying, well, we're trying to do this so it's not a burden to you, and I'm like, well, it is.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
because I
no,
wanted
no,
you
that's
to-
not what it says. What it says is that we're trying to balance burden and economic opportunity.
Right.
And that we are carefully looking at both ends of that scale.
Right. So can you, if you want to do it as a mission statement, economic development opportunities in a manner to address economic costs or costs to the property owners and, you know, saving the architectural designs. I just think by wording it that way.
Yeah, you don't like the word overburden. So how about,
Because again, what is the definition of that?
yeah, how about something to the effect of, we're trying to achieve a balance between economic opportunity and regulatory.
How about saying balancing, complementing the town's urban core and fostering economic development while understanding property owners, I don't know.
So what's the, what is the, so what you first said, Jane, where you end at opportunities,
Yeah,
after that, it does read more like it's a master plan type statement,
Right.
doesn't it? Like instead of a rule.
Yeah, I like that too. I actually like cutting out what you suggested and just going on from there, because I feel like it's too open to interpretation, and this just explains it more forthright. What you're getting here is we're trying to make a balance between architectural design complementing the town's urban core and fostering economic development. In other words, we don't want to make it impossible for someone to buy a building in this area and have a business, but we want that, we are saying that if you buy here, that you have to adhere to the standards that we've set. And that's the balance, I feel like.
And were you trying to leave some negotiating room?
No, I think it was,
People that may
yeah,
be overburdened economically?
it was acknowledging them. You know, acknowledging that, you know, these could be burdensome, but what we're trying to achieve is that burden has a purpose. Purpose is to, you know, create, you know, a certain character for downtown, and which, you know, has economic value in itself. But at the same time, and then with that, you know, we want to create opportunities, not be overburdensome, you know, with our design standards, because we want a thriving downtown. So it was more a acknowledgement than anything else. So,
I think that
and I was going off of the existing language
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you know,
I mean, you do say balance in the beginning,
Yeah.
as Patrick points out, and so I think even if you take Jane's thing and just cross off the last, you're still saying it. It's just a little more subtle.
Yeah,
What about using the word while instead of between urban core, while fostering economic development?
that's fine. I like that.
okay. And then cross out in a manner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You, yeah.
So if you end with a period after,
After, you want to remove opportunities or just?
No, I
you know,
think that's fine.
I think it's
Okay.
fine, yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And then just capital T, this regulation applies only to structures located on 108 and within a downtown commercial
Yeah, I
overlay
don't think
district.
you need accordingly there.
Okay.
Okay?
And that
And
might change, that sentence might change anyway.
What?
Yeah, as we move forward.
Well, actually,
You know,
that doesn't apply. Because the downtown commercial overlay district, so this doesn't apply to houses on South Main Street.
It would, because this is within the overlay district.
But this says
The blue.
only the structures located along Route 108 and,
And within the
so
downtown
that's a dual
commercial.
qualification.
Yeah, because it's capturing those South Main Street
It's
properties.
not Route 108 though.
And, so it's and the overlay district. So the overlay district
Is
is
that,
part,
So are you saying, Jeff, that it makes more sense to
Just say within the downtown.
within the downtown commercial? So
but we also want to make sure those other along 108 going south have to follow these rules as well. So I'm thinking past the railroad tracks.
these standards apply not only will be any kind of, it won't be just triggered by this way. These standards will be triggered by other, let's say redevelopment
Right.
or south
So-
of the downtown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as you move north, downtown overlay district on 108 on North Main Street and then Exeter Road. For example, right after the railroad tracks, what was that? Was it 60 Exeter Road, 65 Exeter Road? The development, 56 Exeter Road development that was approved was like 28 units. That had to follow these standards.
Walter G.
Okay.
It all the chain.
Yeah.
Is that, so this goes to the urban, or to the town line?
So 108, yep. So these standards.
Town line to town line.
Right.
Route 108.
Yep, and then also the sliver of South Main.
But, and I could be totally wrong on this, the way I read it, like if I said my shirt is, you know what I mean, like, it just says and within, it makes it sound like it's
Okay,
a dual
so
qualification.
so maybe take out within and say and the downtown overlay district.
Or,
I see what you're saying, yeah. No, that's a little clearer.
or if you said within, or along with those, you know what I mean? Including
In
those
addition
within,
to?
in addition to, or it's just,
So you have a problem with and.
because
No,
it sounds like it's
within.
a dual
And
qualification.
within.
Well, within would be crossed. If
Okay.
it was, we just Route 1, along Route 108 and the downtown overlay district.
I think that still sounds, to me, it still sounds like dual qualifications. I could be reading it wrong. Could just be the way I'm, what's that?
Including
Well,
the downtown commercial?
You could say, included and not limited to. Was that too open?
I feel that, to me, I feel that's overreading it, to me. Like, it's Route 108, so all structures on Route 108, and then also the downtown overlay district. So, yes, there'll be some redundancy there, with the downtown overlay district, but there are some properties outside Route 108.
I just want to make sure it doesn't get confused to say that you have to meet both. You have to be on 108 and within the downtown overlay district. Because that's the way I read it. The house must be on Route 108 and within the downtown overlay district.
Okay.
That's
So,
like,
so then it mostly what you're saying is it applies to structures located either on Route 108 or the downtown.
There you go.
commercial.
That's good, yeah.
So that
that cleans
covers
that up.
both.
That covers both.
Okay.
'Cause that's the goal, is to cover both, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So either or. Okay.
Just remove and. or.
And within, and say either along Route 108, along either Route 108 or the downtown commercial.
Or within the down, or within.
Put it back within.
No, within's fine.
In this sentence, it works.
In this sentence, it works great.
New sentence, okay.
Thank you, that's a good one, good job.
Earned my chairman strike tonight.
We need some English majors here.
And then the last is on line 139. Fencing. So I found this redundant, becoming the redundancy. M2 district along Route 108 is the downtown overlay district. So we can either leave it as is where the red is, or add in the downtown commercial overlay district.
Well, I think since we're using, everywhere else we talk about the downtown commercial overlay district, we should be consistent, right, and keep it. Or use that instead of the M2 district along 108.
I like that because it expands it up South Main Street a little bit.
Yep. How does other board members feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
So that's it.
Well, now we have to decide what the district is, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that's just the language proposed, and now we can leave it discuss.
So what are we working towards tonight?
I think consensus that the language is good, that is ready, if not ready for public hearing, that's close to with some minor edits. And we also want to discuss the boundaries of the overlay district. I think at the last meeting, the discussion was we want public input, so we want, put our best foot forward with language for them to react to and, make comments on. And also it's gonna, depending on what the district would be proposed to look like, noticing requirements. So we want to make sure everyone who would be affected by this is noticed. So we're expanding if we're going to expand it, we want to make sure those people are notified, those property owners.
Are we talking about the July meeting, or are we talking about?
Yeah, we can do July, we can talk scheduling too afterwards too, July or August.
So just a quick question, if we're talking about trying to get the public's participation, the July and August, people just approve their notifications, that's all.
It's
I don't know if
quite
that's-
possible in
yeah.
the summer months.
Yeah.
We could, if it's not having a public hearing, or what we could do is have the public hearing, continue it.
Yep.
As we get,
Start it, yep.
Start it, and then we just continue until the plan board's comfortable closing it and making a decision once enough feedback.
Well, my understanding from the last meeting is if we only did the blue, and I say that just because I don't know if it would include the green, that's a small enough number of people that each person there would receive an individual notice from the town of a public meeting,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Would that also include the green? If we,
No, it would not.
So if we include the green, nobody gets an personal notice?
No one in the green would. The blue would still get the notice.
Oh, okay.
We
So
notice them.
the last,
We could, yeah.
We just notice them anyway.
so in the last meeting, I thought the consensus was if these people got individual notice, they're showing up.
Theoretically, they'd be noticed to ask to show up, or notice that this is happening.
Well, I guess the feeling was that they would see it as a priority to either come or send somebody.
I would agree, if I got a notice, I would be more apt to look at it and want to delve into it as opposed to, there's something hanging in the town hall.
Yeah,
We definitely have noticed we're changing the boundaries. Not necessarily the boundaries would change. We wouldn't have to notice, I don't think, because we're not.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
Jane's question was, if we have a public meeting, is anybody going to show up? And I thought in the last meeting, we thought that people would show up specifically because there is not some sign in the town hall. These people are, it's a
Right.
small enough number
Yeah, that we would notice.
that we would actually
Yeah.
notify them.
Yeah, no matter what, I think, in this case, no matter what, we're noticing people.
Yeah.
So it depends on who exactly. Is it the green and blue or just the blue?
Right, but I think that would address some of Jane's very valid concerns.
Yeah, I think that, if we get the notice out early enough, some folks may have not planned their summer vacation yet, but are close to it.
Yeah,
And if we can get on the calendar, I think that would be advantageous. And, excuse me, if we don't do it on a Friday, you know what I mean? But people would be out, I think, early to midweek would be good.
well, I assume we're doing it on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
I
we
would
do
think,
it
I would
plan-
hope that's
plan
all,
board,
but
yeah.
yeah, I just want to make sure.
So then, I guess that's a question, how much notice do you want? So, do we want to give them enough notice that we're telling them in August it's going to happen, or in July? How much notice would they get if we decided tonight to have it in July?
I can do it earlier than required, but we're required 10 days prior to the meeting.
The notice,
The
right?
notice,
Yeah.
yes.
Do you think that's enough, or?
Sue, what do you think?
I don't think so, not given that it's July and everybody's already booked vacations.
I think we
Possibility
get
of
that.
August, they would be coming back, getting ready for kids, school and stuff like that. These aren't necessarily people who are living, except down here,
Yeah,
people
Right.
living in the houses that
So
are
the
down here.
property owners would be notified.
yeah.
Yeah.
The property owners would probably be around.
Yeah.
But if we include both of them, then I'm only worried that the people that are living in here
if you wanted to bring this to a public hearing, this is what you're talking about, having a public hearing, right? Next month, what do we have to do with what we've just, the edits? Do we have to take a vote to say we want to bring this as edited version to a public hearing in July?
You don't necessarily take a vote, but I think it'd be good practice to say, we're bringing this forward for a public hearing. Yeah, it's just, it's more transparent.
Yeah. I was just kind of curious if we're at that point with a few members out this evening. So I was curious.
Right.
If we're ready to move forward at that with
And again,
The chair and
the
vice
next
chair.
meeting is in July, so there's just as good a chance that there could be people out next month too, right?
easily. I'm
I-
not sure.
I can't remember if I'm here next month. So I think that's always a potential. Summer meetings are difficult. you know.
July 11th.
And again, if we do set it, the board does set it, it could always be continued.
It doesn't mean it happens.
Right, we don't have to,
And we can still change
Close it.
right,
So
just keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep modifying
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So
It's just
once you
bring-
close it, then you gotta renotice, and so typically it's better to, just keep it open, so you have that opportunity to do those modifications.
Right. I was kind of curious as to where we were heading, that's all.
Yeah, no.
So back to the map, right?
Yes.
That's
the question right now. It's, how does the board feel? Are they comfortable with the overlay district is now, or do they see opportunities to expand it? What are the opportunities, and also are there any consequences? So just having that discussion.
So apart from the changes that, we're just proposing, would there be any additional changes if we decided to expand it for the people who are already living there or the owners?
So a lot of these owners right now, so they wouldn't necessarily be, let me think about this for a second, when we look at the language one more time, in the zoning edit. Let me go. Expanding the downtown overlay district would compel these properties to follow the design standards. There would still be a gap. If it wasn't expanded to these areas, there would still be that gap that we're trying to find a remedy for the downtown overlay district. Only when those properties are redeveloped under site plan review would those properties have to follow design standards.
Certainly if you're heading toward Newfield, on your right, there's a lot of big houses there that are very historic that we'd like to preserve.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to hear from each person what they think it should look like. If you can give us this, what's in the blue, or what's in the blue and the green, or a third option, maybe. I'd like to hear what each person has to say. Jeff, what do you think?
I don't mind the expansion. I question the inclusion of the gas station parcel. Other than that, I don't really have a strong opinion. So I think it's a good idea.
So
I think
you'd
a lot
be
of
in
those-
favor?
I think a lot of those houses currently do have a relative historic feel to them. When you drive through there, you don't feel like you're going through a new neighborhood. It's more old timey than other parts of town. So even more so than north of the bridge on the north side of Bay Road. As you go through there, there's more newer looking houses as you get up those roads and stuff. So I I would support it. Like I said, just that one parcel I'm not so sure about. But they do have wood siding, I think, currently. But would it affect like their ability to modify the the roof over the pumps and stuff, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what happens to gas stations.
That's
in
the
District.
Irving, correct?
No, it's the Dynamart?
Dynamart.
Dynamart, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
that
oh,
one,
Dynamart.
okay.
It's the dinosaur.
Okay.
It's the Sinclair, yeah, so that's the only parcel that I don't know if it would be a strange burden or how that even works, so. Other than that,
One way of looking at it too, Jeff, if you think that parcel is not appropriate right now, if that were to ever be redeveloped, it would still have to follow the design standards. So if the board's comfortable how it is right now, then you could exclude it. But it is covered if it is ever to be redeveloped under the current design standards.
oh, I see, yeah, as is.
Yeah, as is.
Yeah, because I could see like, oh, the facade that's over the pumps breaks or something like
Yeah.
that, they have
Yeah.
to replace it,
Yeah.
now they have to replace it some.
Well, maybe in 20 years, there won't be gas stations.
That's right.
Well, there'll be all EV charging
Yeah.
places.
So I would support it with the I guess I'd consider support it with the removal of that parcel.
Okay. Jane, what are your thoughts?
I can see where you're going with it, but I also see, Bart, what you're saying is that if that was gonna change and become something else, that it's there to cover it. It's like a safety net for it. And what would the harm be?
Oh, it's already covered, right?
So right now, if there was any renovations, it's not covered, but if it's redeveloped, it is covered.
Oh, for redevelopment is
Yeah.
covered, okay.
Yeah.
Under site plan review, correct?
Yeah,
It'll be a major site plan review.
then I support that then.
Scott?
Yeah, I would support adding the green, and I'd be happy to take out the gas station. It doesn't, I could see public comment saying, this is ridiculous, you put a gas station in this thing, and I could just see, that would be something people could use to say it was a stupid plan. I'm not suggesting it is stupid, I'm just saying,
I
you
understand
know,
where you're coming from.
yeah.
Yes, no harm, no offense.
So I'm just curious, so the language that we have here is the current language apart from the one that we added here.
Right.
How to add. So would that mean that apart from, we're proposing is that if we expanded it and somebody decided to build a single family home on one of those lots,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't be allowed to do that. As
They
it stands, they would be able to do it.
they could build a single family.
Mhm.
I think they'd be grandfathered in, so they're all single families or duplexes right now. So I
Mhm.
think if they wanted to, I have to double check to see within
Mhm.
the old.
So you mean like if they wanted to tear down the house
Yeah.
and build a
There
new?
was
Right.
a multi-family and
Right.
build a single family home.
They'd be legally non-conforming, so, if they were expanded.
Mhm.
So if we were to expand it here, even now, currently there's some right now probably, I think there's some single families there.
Mhm.
They would have, I believe, 2 years, 1 or 2 years to rebuild.
Okay.
To keep that non-conforming status.
Mhm.
If they fail to do that, it would be removed and they wouldn't have to be able to build.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that I thought was more restriction apart from what we're already proposing. But apart from that, I don't see anything else that would make their life more difficult. So I think that, I support the idea of spending it. Some other members mentioned that there's some other properties within the town that we would protecting, but that's not on the table right now. So I think that the expansion is total support. That's a good idea.
What about Dino?
Yes, we can exclude that. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
find it that at all.
Dino,
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't actually know much about the property, but I don't know at all.
Oh, you don't know that
I'm
one?
talking about the gas station.
Yeah, the gas station there, yeah.
It doesn't look
It's not-
historic.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very old.
Well, it's over, I think it's over 25 years old, I think. Yeah, I think, because it was like, it was the Great Bay Hot Tub building, and I don't think they ripped the building down, I think they just re-sided it, right? And that building was here when I moved to town in 1996.
Floor guys were in need.
Yeah. It was a video store.
Yes.
And again, any building that's already on 108, even though they're not in either the blue or the green, would be subject to site plan review if they redevelop the property.
Correct.
So they could make existing changes to the building, window, siding, things like that, without any restriction. But if they wanted to tear the building down and build something new, so I'll pick on the Durham Book Exchange, it doesn't appear to be on here, but
Right.
if that building was to be torn down and they wanted to rebuild, they would have no restrictions. But if they wanted to make it a pink and magenta building, I'll just pick on those colors because those seem to be colors that people take offense to for some reason, that would be not a problem. They could reside it in any way they choose.
Right, so the book exchange could reside right now as is.
Any way they choose,
Right.
right? Okay, so we sort of, why did we stop where we stopped then, especially on, I would guess it's the eastern side of 108, right? The mill building side. Why did we stop along there? Do we know why those buildings weren't included in this original?
That, I don't know the original intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, why they weren't. No, I don't. I can
Because
look into it.
it could have been prior to those mill buildings being restored, and maybe
Right.
we were trying to make it more attractive for restoration.
Mhm. Yeah, and the M2A district has other standards too, which the mill buildings is different. I think it's M1 district,
Right.
and then M2A is, I don't know if the book exchange is in there or not.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah.
I'm just using that as an
Yeah.
example. I don't
Mhm.
want to, indicate there's anything special about that building. But, okay, I just wanted to ask that question because I was curious. Obviously, the library is a public building. And then there's the current Newberry Farm building. And I think the other lot there would actually represent a parking lot. I'm sort of going south from Elm Street now on the right-hand side, and it's not, none of those buildings are along 108 or in this district.
Right.
And obviously, the library, again, is a public building, so that would be reviewed. Then we've got, I think, a parking lot, Newberry
Yeah.
Farms, and then another parking lot.
Correct.
And on the other side, again, we've got the bookstore, some state land,
Mhm.
where the fish ladder is state land, I believe, the dam, and then the mill buildings. Okay.
Is there a building next to La Katrina that's an apartment building, a brick apartment building?
Yes.
That's the first gray lot, I think.
Is there?
Because there's you come down the hill and there's a little
Yeah.
grassy area in the corner of the old foundation,
Yep.
and there's a little driveway, and you cross that, and
Yeah.
then there's an apartment building.
Yep.
And then there's a driveway.
It's right
and
next to the
Katrina.
little park.
Yeah.
Because the Katrina's not underneath.
I think that apartment building's in there.
No.
You don't
It
think
is, it is.
Oh, it is?
I think
It's
so,
the
I
yeah.
last
think it is.
Yeah, I think it's the last.
There's an apartment building, La Katrina, then the building that contains
Thai.
both the Thai and
You're right,
the
okay,
bagel
yes.
shop,
Yep.
So,
and then
Yep.
Crack Skulls, and then we're at the
Jeff,
street.
you're right, there is a building, then La Katrina.
Yep.
Katrina.
But is the building the gray, or is it the parking lot?
No, building's in the blue, it's the first
Okay,
blue
it's the
block.
first blue, okay.
Yeah. And then it elevates, that's the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's the corner, that.
Yeah,
corner
where
of
the
the gray
little
is the
park,
corner of
little
the old
pocket park
foundation.
is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the,
Old building.
yep.
So the the 321 is not applicable to every building on Route 108,
It is.
but only if it's, only for new, not for,
So
like
if
Patrick
it-
was pointing out, it's not for renovations though.
Correct.
Okay, alright,
That's where that gap lies that
Yeah.
currently exists.
between renovation.
Yeah.
And so we're saying renovations also, in this area right
Renovation
here,
in
but
the
why not further?
Well, I mean, that's, yeah, I'm for more, definitely a more expanded district because I think there's value there, but I know that I was in the minority on that, I believe, at the last meeting. So I will take this expansion over no expansion.
Yeah, that's kind of how I
And
feel.
Dino is out.
Dino's out.
Yeah,
And I just want to remind the board too, like, we're gonna go through a process, north of, the last building here to the Durham line.
So north of the last building, all the way to the Durham line, okay,
Right.
all right, so
So
that's,
past where the old coffee shack used to be.
Correct.
all the way to the
up,
Durham line, so that'd be
Okay.
all the way up to,
Overshawn.
yeah,
Yep, okay.
Sean.
Expanding this?
Yeah, the M2A, so it's basically expanding the M2A, which is where the parking lot is, where the old foundation, the mill building, up, so we'll be changing the B1 district. So that's a further,
That's actually our item B, right?
Yes, basically, yes, we can discuss that in a second, yeah.
So, I think what I'm hearing is that people would be comfortable with us going ahead and proposing the expanded district, including the green with the exclusion of the Sinclair lot. Now the question is the timing. We have a consensus on the timing of this. Do we want to go with the July and we have a continuance of our hearing, or do we want to start in August?
Can I have my opinion?
Yeah.
Sure. I think maybe August would be good. The reason why is this language might have to change a little bit based on this discussion of the expansion. So I want to make sure that
at the next meeting.
at the next meeting that I have a clean
Yep.
document for the board to review and set the public hearing there.
But could we still send out the notices, like, in the next couple of weeks?
I think we're better noticing closer, don't you? Or you want to do it so people who are going to be on vacation have a chance
Have
to.
plenty of notice, yeah.
I think if you could do it in the next week, that would be advantageous for everyone.
Okay, so, I was gonna say, if what I'm hearing is right, is make the changes that line up with this expansion, refine the language or edit the language as discussed tonight, and then have that ready for a public hearing in July.
No,
No?
August.
in
August.
August.
Yeah, I
There's
think
something
getting
notice.
the notice out.
Okay, so I'm gonna probably notice a couple of times then. So
Yeah.
that's-
The
that's a big-
notice
that's a
is
big
simply
gap.
saying there's gonna be, there's gonna be a review of, it's not, it doesn't include this stuff, right? The notice is simply gonna be, we're making changes with respect to the architectural downtown, and there will be a public meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna know, if that's the case, I'm gonna notice closer to that August meeting then, not like a 2-month gap.
Is that a best practice
Yeah.
as far as notice?
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering if you're heading there. Because if there's a best practice, we should follow that, whether it's,
Can we do a save the date?
What I can do,
And then-
so I think sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, no.
Yeah, what I can do is add the language online, advertise it, email blast it, say, hey, this is the language planning board's considering.
So you say email blast it, tell me what does that mean? Do you have-
Well, we have like online notifications, so someone subscribes to the town's website, I have the ability to notify them
Yeah,
when something's uploaded.
yeah, so that's like a poll, right? People have to go pull the information down. Well, meaning they have to sign up to get the notice, right? to the town.
And also I can put on the town front page a link. In
I'm
addition
just
to,
concerned
in addition to later on sending the paper notices out, the that.
So the conflict we have here, so you don't think, or it's your opinion, or it's practice, that giving somebody like a month and a half notice is a good idea?
Well, I just don't want to be confusing and come to the next meeting and they're ready to talk about it when it's nothing, the board's not gonna discuss it.
I think if you say, and again, say the date, August 11th, whatever the date is, planning board will be addressing X, Y, Z, and then using your thought process,
I know.
a second notice,
Mhm.
and I definitely get what you're saying about signing up, to the town website, but I think this is something that can affect the community, and I think if we hit them twice, it might show,
I have a solution.
okay,
So what I'll say in the first notice is the planning board's considering
Yep.
amending, proposed amendments to downtown overlay district, X, Y, Z.
Yep.
They'll be setting a public hearing in August. We want to notify you that,
Your building would
your
be
bill will be
involved.
affected by that.
Yeah,
Proposed language is ready, the planning board office, it's online, here's the link.
or the proposed language will be ready
Yeah,
in July.
Yeah, if you have any questions, contact, planning
Yeah.
office.
but I don't want to overburden you either, though.
No, it's not overburden.
And then in July, I guess we could send out the actual language, right?
So planning board will review that language at their meeting, say, all right, we're ready for the public hearing, it's ready to go, then we can post it online.
I just think total transparency is probably the best.
Yeah, definitely, I can do that.
Yeah, because I think you're gonna hear, oh, I didn't hear about it, I don't, so we sent it out twice, we sent it out the first time, we sent
There'll be opportunities once the board does act on it with town council, because there is a zoning change.
But,
So town council may potentially.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so there'll be another public hearing for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can speak up at the town council meetings and tell them all about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you
Okay,
expect
so-
more people showing up, or what's your, what do you estimate? How many people
That's hard to
showing
say.
up? Hard to say?
I know there's some people that are watching this, would be affected by this proposed change. So there's definitely people are aware of it. And it's been brought up a lot of times, town council meetings, planning board
Yes.
meetings, so it's nothing new. in a
It's
sense.
not a lot of people either, like one person owns 3 or 4 of these buildings, and so there isn't like 50 entities that own these buildings.
But again, we are expanding, so the board's thinking about expanding, so bringing those folks into the conversation, notifying them from. So yeah, so I can definitely achieve the noticing regimen that the board wants. I can make that happen.
One thing that I missed part is the zone that the newly added,
Mhm.
is that still in?
That's why I need to make the changes. I'm not sure if that M2 expands all the way out there. So, and then you go to downtown overlay district and it says, it talks about permitted uses in the M2 district. So really, the downtown overlay district is a subsection of the M2 district. So we may spill over, so that needs to be changed. So I gotta make sure that all
So I was
that's up.
curious about.
Yeah.
Just a, not that I want to make any changes in anything you did, just a question or discussion is it a strange use of a commercial overlay district for the purpose of historic preservation? I mean, I know we kind of refocused that at the end of the last meeting, right? But we didn't discuss it till the very end of the discussion about this. And I'm just curious if it's something you normally see, or would you normally use a historic overlay district or some other?
I think we have overlay over overlay, which is, not good practice. So maybe there's some housekeeping that the board can do, make some recommendations on maybe consolidating overlay districts. And to answer your question, this overlay district, I think, is trying to maintain that character. So kind of what the historical district would do as well, but in a very focused area. So I think for Newmarket, it's appropriate. this use of it. Because it is historical in a sense. There's a certain feel to it that wants to be maintained and maintained. If I'm understanding the purpose correctly. So, and then those elements that make Newmarket downtown is, has economic value. So, I think, like I said, it does achieve what other commercial districts and other towns in different contexts would.
They use their commercial overlay district in what currently is a majority residential district to control architectural preservation.
Yeah, I think overlay district would, they have different standards. It's going to be different overlay towns, different downtowns. In Newmarket, it's a historical mixed use. Yeah.
If you call it commercial, even though it's mostly residential, it could be commercial someday, it could be all commercial someday, right?
Yeah, it follows the M2 permitted uses.
Yeah, unless it falls into slides into a different zone, yeah.
Right. We'll have to take a look into that and make amendments to it.
Here's it seems strange.
One other, and I don't know the exact parameters, so when Newmarket redid the section of 108, when I say redid, they created a special district so that they could submerge the power lines, right? They put those underground, they put the new lamp posts in, they redid the sidewalks. All of that was a town project that was done, right?
Yes.
This is a tax increment
It was
finance.
a tip, yeah, it was a tip, right?
It was a tip.
Tip. So that was a special district that we did that put in to sort of enhance the exact area we're talking about today, right? It was a major investment to do that.
That's correct. Yep.
So you
Different
have
purpose,
something
yeah.
in this-
Different purpose,
Yeah.
but it definitely
It-
encourages, I mean, the things that they did, putting the power lines under, putting those lamp posts in, the brick in the sidewalk, all of that speaks to a historic look. It's not like that's the way I look at it anyway. It was a historic choice at that point. So I feel like a lot of this dovetails onto that, and that's where the economic part of it comes into play, is that we've made this investment and now we're almost like coming back and saying, let's further protect that investment that we made. Because we obviously valued it enough to do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing to do. I just didn't know if it more traditionally would be done through a historic overlay district instead of a commercial overlay district.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of routes that we've taken to get where we are.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, I didn't want to change anything, just kind of was curious on the
Yeah.
concept and the use of the different terms and different parts of our ordinances.
Well, for most of the meeting last time, you never referred to it as having, it being called a commercial, and when I went and looked it up, it was the downtown commercial overlay district, and I kind of thought, ooh, we weren't talking about commercial, the word commercial being in there. We were just talking about downtown overlay district.
We kept evolving.
Yeah, it was a shorthand.
It was
of
the
saying that.
shorthand.
Yeah. It's a lot to say.
Okay. So I think we're all set then for the July meeting. I think we have everything that we're agreed on. Is there any more discussion about what we're proposing for the next meeting? Okay. And feel clear about
Yeah.
where the direction is?
Right. I'll probably pause it for the next meeting for that discussion when we have a full board.
Right.
But yeah, so there's one section I want to speak about, but I think it'd be better to have that discussion for the next meeting.
Okay. So now we want to return, and we have part B of number 4, discussion relative to forming a consultant.
Oh, Bart, you had mentioned going back, was that line 38, 39,
Yeah.
you wanted to wait till next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause
Yeah.
I remember you saying you wanted to go back to.
Yep. I
okay.
figured,
Yep.
we have more, full board, yeah.
Agreed, I just didn't know if that's what
Yeah,
you were
that was
saying.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Section B. Forming a consultant selection committee for proposed zoning amendments along North Main Street and a discussion on forming a master plan subcommittee.
So, Right now, there's an RFP out for to hire a consultant to help us with the rezoning efforts along North Main Street. And I wanted to start forming a selection committee, and I was wondering if anyone from the board, since the board's going to be heavily involved, would like to be part of that process. So, in addition to some board members, listening to other town staff that would be involved in that as well. So I want to reach out to the board to see if there's any interest for one or two members to be part of that.
I'd like to do that, please.
Jane?
And do you want to see Val or Erica, since they're not here? Either one of them would be interested in being in that group?
Yeah, we could do that because it's still haven't had any bids come in yet, so
Yeah.
there's still time to form that committee. So we
Okay.
can pause that discussion. Same thing potentially with the master plan discussion. Form that subcommittee as well for the July meeting when we have more of this.
How many were you thinking should be on it?
I was thinking two. Plan board members.
Oh, two planning board.
Yeah.
And I think to your point though, because of Eric and Val and their experience, if either one of them would like to be on either one of those, I'll be more than happy to move over to the other one. You know what I mean? Or if they both want to do it, I'm fine with that as well. But I'll fill the gap if and when needed.
Yeah.
Okay?
So the master plan subcommittee would be more, the board's going to be, it's going to be more, through that process, the board's going to be heavily involved, full board, but, there's more, a couple point people to have, for other elements in that process. I thought it might be useful.
Yep.
So that's what these.
So I think we're pausing then on both that and forming a master plan subcommittee, which I'm guessing would start the process of reviewing the master plan. Is that what that is? Chairman is not here to provide the chairman's report. Bart, do you have anything? Well, you've got your own agenda item there. So committee reports, Jeff, Conservation Commission.
Okay, this week we had a guest speaker, Doug Sagan, who he works for the state of New Hampshire Department of Agriculture, and he produces New Hampshire Guide to Upland Invasive Species. I recommend folks watch the beginning of our meeting from this week, from last Thursday. My bad. A very good discussion on Japanese knotweed and its destructive and very invasive nature. And it's something that people should look into, try to help control, report where it exists. It's not only crowding out native species, but also destroying property. So I recommend everyone goes and watches that short half hour. He does a really good job explaining current controls, what he's done, what the state's doing, things you can do. Look
They
out for.
can drill through concrete and come up in your house.
He has pictures.
Yes,
It
pictures.
happens, perhaps. So that was very interesting. One other quick thing, there was a SELT update on their management of the Piscasset Greenway. I know a lot of people in town use the Piscasset Greenway, so SELT has been working on updating their management plan. So we had a presentation on that. It was relatively long. I suggest watching that one as well. One other thing that I know will come up at some point, and I think that this may be applicable to the planning board in general, because it's kind of town planning, the change to the amount. But the Conservation Commission may be requesting a change to the percentage in the land use change tax that is directed toward the conservation fund. So that will come at some point.
What is it right now, 50%?
50%. The request was sent to the town council to change the portion of Old Lee Road within Newmarket to a Class A trail. Connects from Yale Mill Road to the end of Old Lee Road and Newfields. And
Oh, I
so-
thought we already did that.
And was that completed? Or did you? Because we did Neil Mill.
We did Neil Mill. I thought the Lee Road was included in it. but
No, it
may-
wasn't. It
Oh,
wasn't. So
wasn't.
it wasn't.
Okay.
So we made a point to bring that
Okay.
back up and send it up.
It's interesting, it's a road that's only accessible from a trail.
It's only accessible from a Class A trail in Newfields and a Class A trail. We tried to get that put in when Neil Mill Road was done, but I think the focus wanted to be the task at hand, which was Neil Mill Road, and not do two at once for some reason. So, I think that's all. Building piece this month.
Capital improvement.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed the meeting because I had an ill dog, but,
I can give an update.
yeah, can you?
Yeah, so, the capital improvement committee, they met with the town manager and had a great discussion on, you know, the intent of the master plan, the CIP process, how it can be improved, methods to do that, and really kind of realigning what the CIP process is, was more planning instead of budgeting. So, I think everyone agreed upon that, and they're looking forward to, moving in that track, So, in addition to that, there was a request that the chair come and speak at the next meeting to get the planning board's opinion on the CIP process and how it can be changed or be modified to be a better process. So, the board's willing to entertain them. I think that'd be a great discussion.
Yeah, and just to add to it, and kudos to you.
Yeah.
This was a big change this year for the CIP. We had a new chairperson, we had a new town representative, and it was flawless. You did a great job keeping everyone zoned in and keeping the ball going in the right direction. The guardrails you set up were perfect for us, so I want to make sure that it's on the record that outstanding job.
Thank you. We are starting the process a little earlier too. The CIP committees meet more frequently, and they plan on meeting more frequently in the future because it's really more of a planning committee than anything else instead of a budgeting committee. So, how it was traditionally used. So good things to come from that committee, and look forward to that discussion on July meeting.
I was not able to attend Energy and Environment, but I do know that, again, the Energy Aggregation Plan Community Power Coalition is moving forward. I think they've now submitted the paperwork to the Utilities Commission, I believe. And the thought process right now is that it would be sometime in second quarter of 2024 that Newmarket would potentially come online with the Community Power Coalition. So that's when the offers would go out for people to be part of it. And again, you'd opt in unless you've already opted out of Eversource. You'd be opted in, so you could opt out. So, more development will happen on that as they get closer to those dates, but I think everything's moving along accordingly. I think the town council might have some more things to review, but I think everything seems to be going along pretty well. And then I think that the draft that they created of the master plan for energy is ready to be forwarded along to us. So when we take up the master plan, we can take up that portion of it. So that's it for Energy and Environment. Scott, Town Council.
So as you're probably aware, there was a sewer leak discovered. There's a sewer line that runs underneath the Lamprey, kind of near Shanda Park. And they sent divers in and they found bubbles coming up from the surface, right? So we've gone through a lot of gyrations. So for instance, our first thought was we were going to lay pipe over the pedestrian bridge and we're going to bypass it that way, right? And so we had to inspect the bridge to make sure you could put the pipe on and support the weight, and then we found out that the pedestrian bridge has issues with its infrastructure. And so now we have to repair the pedestrian bridge. But we found out that we don't actually have to run a pipe. We can somehow steer it around through manholes. I don't fully understand the thing, but we believe now that the whole cost of fixing this thing is going to be in the order of $200,000, where we used to think it was going to be like $1 million. So that's at least a positive feature. And the company that's going to do it thinks they're going to have a solution in a couple of weeks.
So it's sort of a bypass that
Yeah.
they're gonna create through,
Yeah.
so we just won't run through the river at all anymore? Or underneath the river, I should say?
I guess we're going to run into the river in a different place.
In a different place.
Yeah, there's a pumping station, like if you go on the other side of the dam,
Mhm.
there's a pumping station down there, like basically just, you just walk in from the dam, there's a big grassy area, there's a big metal, like doors on the ground, and in there is a big pumping station. And I guess from there, there's also a pipe that goes under the river. And so somehow we're going to get it to that pumping station and then move it under the river somehow. I'm just getting little bits of this, from.
Yeah.
So people are relieved that apparently the situation is a lot easier and cheaper than we thought it was going to be. Because, $1 million, just, oh yeah, I need another $1 million. It's, it's significant. So Civic Ready, which is somebody that we've been using for a while, I know for town council meetings, we don't use it for planning board meetings, but it's a company, a software company, I assume, of some nature. We're going to use them now for notification, and we're asking everybody to sign up for Civic Ready so that if we have to send out a notification, you can get it, immediately. Everything about this is on the Friday newsletters. They've done a study of the facilities. They're currently looking at building an addition onto the police station. Apparently the police need a lot of extra room. And they're talking about building an addition on this building in the back and converting the basement, or I don't know what you call that. Is that, we call it the ground where you vote, right? Turn that into the office areas of, like that registration and everything. And there'll actually be like a drive-through in the back that you can somehow pay your taxes, something in a drive-through window. And then all this stuff up here then becomes offices. And the school stays on the top floor.
I think the meeting rooms too would be downstairs as well.
Just to make everything more accessible to people, I think that's the trend in town government, is they want to it makes everything more accessible, right?
Yeah.
Today, our building is not, even with the elevator, it's not great. It's harder for people to get upstairs.
And then, as you know, we're doing a survey, a government survey, and if you haven't taken it, we would appreciate it. We did this about 7 years ago. We got about 500 people. So far, we've got about 400 people responding, but it's still early. So if you haven't taken it, it's your opportunity to input on what you like about Newmarket or don't like about Newmarket. And then we fixed the water and sewer rate. This is the stuff that we reviewed here. We bought a new police car. We've been trying to we bought a hybrid car. I don't know if you've noticed that, but we bought a hybrid car a couple years ago. And of course, during COVID, when gas prices went through the roof and stuff, it was showed as really a lot cheaper, right? But they haven't been able to buy any more. They claim they order them. The police buy cars through the state at some state rate, right? So a car that costs, say, $40,000, the state rate's like $32,000 or something. And one of the reasons is there's no commission to the people selling it, right? So when you buy a car, the delivery typically is in the order of 6 to 12 months. because no one's getting commission, no one gets any bonuses or effort. I mean, so it's just, they do it as a favor to you, kind of. So they order hybrid cars, but then as soon as they get on the lot, they sell them to somebody else because you can get a lot more money for a hybrid right now than you can for a standard. They just tell the police tough. So we haven't been able to do that. And the procurement policies have been changed in town hall where they've basically now, if it's in the budget, Steve can buy a police car by himself. He doesn't need board approval.
So he can go buy a hybrid.
Well, yeah, no, because he has to buy it through the
They
state.
still they have to buy it through the state.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get that discount.
Yeah, but they don't.
This is just the authorization, but
They-
he's doing it himself.
If they didn't want
Yeah.
if they didn't want the discount, could they buy it elsewhere?
Yeah, I don't see why not, but
Maybe, no, I'm not sure. Yeah, the police union.
it's a pretty significant discount. So the hybrid would have to really be worth it. And I don't think you can justify it on $3.50 gas. It's just, well, anyway, we're gonna find out. The belief is that the maintenance on these hybrid cars is much lower. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's supposedly you never replace the brakes because regenerative braking, there's no oil changes or any of that kind of stuff. They do need special tires, and I'm sure the tires are a lot more expensive. But the police cars, I don't know how they do with tires, because I think Newmarket police cars mostly sit places, right? I don't think they get a lot of, well, I don't know how many miles they get on it. I mean, you don't do a lot of highway driving,
Well, from the graveyard to where the laundromat is.
Yeah,
and,
it's like-
the funeral home,
Yeah.
the old McDonald's, that's
Yeah.
usually where they kinda hang, but that's where they get you.
Yeah.
They know where to go.
I know that with my hybrid, the greatest efficiency that I see out of it is when I drive between like 35 and 45 miles an hour, and I drive between like maybe 3 and 6 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is where they,
Right, so
which
like
is their
that's
thing.
where you see it,
Yeah.
like going 30 like for 5 minutes and not driving again for hours, it doesn't really get above like 33, 35.
Yeah.
On those slightly longer trips where I'm not hitting 70 or 70 miles an hour, then you do see efficiency. When you go too fast, you don't get it, or when you don't go far enough, you don't really get
Get
it.
it.
Because the car does run at least it's a non-plug-in anyway, non-plug-in.
Yeah, I know
Oil
they
change every
have,
time.
the hybrid, they still have bigger generators on them than normal, because these guys have a ton of electronics tied
Oh,
into
right.
these cars. Right?
Yeah, my question always is it I should go to a town council meeting if I really want to talk about it, I guess, but is it when you're trying to increase efficiency and do things that benefit the environment, does it have to be a dollar for dollar trade-off, or are you paying for something different? You're paying for using less fuel and creating less air pollution, say, and there's a cost to that.
Yeah,
And so
but you know the problem, right? It's a totally different calculation if it's your money.
Yep.
But the town council or the town is spending somebody else's money, right? And so to be able to say, well, we think you should pay higher taxes because of the environment, right? And
It's a very small.
that's
I
a
guess-
harder, it's just harder to say that, we think your tax dollars should support political views, kind of, right? You could say, well, it's not a political view, it's a fact, I understand, but I'm just saying it's harder when you're spending somebody else's money.
It's a valid point. The other thing too is you have to understand what's the weight of the vehicle, right? What does that do to the roads? What does that do to the bridges? And what do you have to do to maintain those? And what kind of materials do you need to do all of that? the machines to fix them and the fuel to fix those, and it's just like this, it's not like you can look at it as like a 180, you have to look at it as 360. What are the unintended consequences of costs associated with different types of vehicles? But you're right.
And what repairs does the pedestrian bridge need? Is it safe now?
Yes, it is safe, but, well, they were talking about restricting what they've done is they've said it's safe for pedestrian traffic, but they're not allowing that little snow buggy, you know the thing that does the sidewalks?
Mm-hmm.
That's not allowed to go on the bridge anymore.
We're talking about the pedestrian bridge that's right over the dam, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Just
Just a
to
little
make sure
downstream.
everybody's clear on.
Yeah,
It may be obvious, but I just want to make sure
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
know.
it's because you said it, 'cause I was thinking it was the bridge, the Veterans Bridge.
No,
It'll
no,
have to
it's
be
just
shown.
that it's below the dam as opposed to above the dam.
at this time, but there's plenty of time between now and snow to fix it, right?
Yeah, my understanding on pedestrian bridges, the greatest weight load is snow in this area. The time of greatest weight load was in.
Yeah, I've never
Snow
seen like
conditions.
300 people on it, but,
Right, but if
Yeah.
you have a foot of heavy wet snow on it, it weighs
yeah.
a lot, quite a bit.
So unrelated to the bridge, but the leak itself, you don't know how long it's been leaking like this into grade?
The belief now is that it probably started in April, I
Oh,
think.
it's quite a, hopefully.
How did they figure?
Yeah.
Did they do flow?
It's not a huge leak, we know that because they put dye in it and they pressurized it, you know, and they don't see any dye coming up into the river. What that the driver sees is some bubbles coming up from the surface. So it's not like there's something shooting up, right? But that's all I know.
And they're testing.
Yeah.
It certainly hasn't been going on for years
Yeah.
because Lamprey River Advisory Committee has had testing right below the dam. It's not doing it currently in its current survey, but it has in the past. I don't know how many years ago it was. That was a test site. So now the test site's down by Moonlight Brook, which is where they picked up all of the pollution. But the test site used to be right below the dam. And I've seen that that's been clear almost every time it's been tested. So probably not for years, probably more
Yeah.
recent.
I don't think that would show up there. That's almost always flowing toward the leak from the dam. The base of the dam is pretty far above the leak site.
Well, it's pretty, well, yeah, I don't know exactly what testing they were doing, but the testing they're currently doing is except a lot of things. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just mean that the flow of the water at the base of the dam is almost always outward,
Right.
because you're up a few rocks. I mean, at high tide, it can't quite remember, it makes it up to the base of the dam.
It does,
Yeah, just barely. So you might get a little backflow, but there's still a general flow.
One other question, Scott. You mentioned the survey and a couple other things signing up. All of that is available on the home page of the town website, correct? All of those things?
I don't know, it's certainly, they're all on the Friday newsletter, I know that. I find the website at the town a little difficult to get around it.
I just want to make sure that we're giving people the right information as to where to go to get
I
these
assume
things.
they must be on the town website.
Okay,
Check the front homepage, just make sure.
okay. Because I know people have questions about that.
Yeah.
How do I sign up for these things? And I know that the town council is trying to push people to sign up for these things. So
Yeah.
I want to reiterate that message. Get on these, get the town newsletter, get on the emergency,
Yeah, I'm sure it's on the town website.
yep, and take the survey. Those are important things.
Yeah, if you're not signed up for the town newsletter or notification, you
You don't
probably
get it,
won't
I
the
guess,
survey,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Well, I know a lot of people get it.
Yep.
I hear
It's on the
many,
front
many
page.
comments. about it.
All
Oh,
of
yeah,
that stuff is
yeah,
on the
yeah.
page.
Yep.
I've done it,
Okay,
and I
so
get
they're good.
emails to do it again, like, all the time.
All the time, yeah, same here.
So go to
I
the
haven't
front
done it
page.
twice.
So public input will be anyhow used for a master plan update, or is it unrelated to citizen input for a master plan? Is it,
So that'll be during the update itself.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have that public participation process.
So this data won't be used for a master plan update?
We could include it, yeah, you know,
Okay.
part of it is the information, so, yeah.
Okay.
That's more for right now, or, you know, yeah, current conditions.
Mhm.
But yeah, it could be useful.
That brings us to the planner's report.
Yeah, so in May, the planning department, town submitted a coastal resiliency grant to DES. And that money will be used towards the riverfront area and developing a master plan for that area. It could be incorporated as one of the subsection of a chapter within the town's master plan. So, we have dedicated funds, so we're trying to, get as much money as possible for a comprehensive update. So, that money will be focused on that chapter specifically. So hopefully we'll hear back soon if we're successful in that. And then just recently we just talked about with Jane about CIP. So that was a good discussion we had earlier this month, and looking forward to the plan board's discussion. Today and another time before. It's part of our grant requirements for the rezoning, the Invest New Hampshire HOP grant, Housing Opportunity, that stands for. You have to attend the Housing Academy, and really what this is for is to so right now it's Val Shelton and Mike Hoffman. Val couldn't make it today, but and then myself, we attended online webinars and also in person over at New Hampshire Finance in Bedford, and we basically strategies on how facilitating conversations on housing, and really focus on how to, for lack of a better term, shepherd conversations when we're going through that rezoning process, how to understand different dynamics, what are in town, and trying to build consensus over understanding people, listening to people, then building consensus on an amendment, a zoning amendment. So that was really really helpful and useful, and we'll take those skills learned and apply them to our rezoning, the town's rezoning effort in the coming months. And those are real major updates I have.
Okay, thanks. If there's nothing else, I will take a motion.
Am I able to I don't want to have a big discussion on it because I'm sure everybody's ready to go. I just want to bring back a topic that we discussed previously, which was trying to amend our regs so that folks don't have to record site plans at the registry of deeds. I know we've discussed doing that, and I've recently been through it again in another town where it was very difficult to get that requirement removed, and it took a lot of time on a lot of professionals' parts to convince the town that it wasn't going to happen, including multiple people getting confirmation from the registry of deeds that they were not going to record it. And so they still will record them if we jump through a bunch of hoops and make some sort of thing that works, but there are lots of instances where it's overburdensome and it doesn't make any sense at all. And so
Yes, so what I can do for the coming meetings is do some housekeeping amendments to site regs. Because we have a couple, problem childs.
okay.
Children, like the waiver for size of the plan is always requested. Do we actually do that all the time? So what I'll do is compile that list and propose some amendments for the board to review. Just, it's more like administrative stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Now do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn, adding my value to the committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second power. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good meeting.
Good night.